I want to share with you something that's been a kind of a personal practice ever since my first church in 1985, when a young couple gave me this book. And it's called God's Trombones, 7 Negro Sermons in Verse by James Weldon Johnson. It was first written in 1927. And I want to read you a little bit about Johnson before I read the poem. James Weldon Johnson was born on June 17, 1871 in Jacksonville, and tragically died when a train hit his car on June 26, 1938 in Wiscasset, Maine. He was a poet, diplomat, and anthologist of black culture. Trained in music and other subjects by his mother, a school teacher, Johnson graduated from Atlanta University with an A.B. degree in 1894 and an M.A. in 1904, and later studied at Columbia University. For several years, he was principal of a black high school in Jacksonville, Florida. He read law at the same time, was admitted to the Florida bar in 1897, and began practicing there. During this period, he and his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, a composer, began writing songs, including Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is pretty much an anthem for black Americans these days, and it's the name of our secondary hymnal in the Episcopal Church. It was based on his 1900 poem of the same name. In 1901, the two went to New York, where they wrote some 200 songs for the Broadway musical stage. His best-known work, God's Trombones, written in 1927, is a group of black dialect sermons in verse, including the creation, go down death, and the crucifixion. These were Johnson's introductions to his anthologies, contain some of the most perceptive assessments ever made of black contribution to American culture. And by the way, I looked it up, it is available, reprints on Amazon. The Crucifixion by James Weldon Johnson. Jesus, my gentle Jesus, walking in the dark of the Garden of Gethsemane, saying to the 3 disciples, sorrow is in my soul, even unto death. Tarry here a little while and watch with me. Jesus, my burden, Jesus, praying in the dark of the Garden of Gethsemane, saying, Father, oh Father, this bitter cup, let it pass from me. Jesus, my sorrowing Jesus, the sweat like drops of blood upon his brow, talking with his Father while the 3 disciples slept, saying, Father, oh Father, not as I will, but let thy will be done. Oh, look at black-hearted Judas, sneaking through the dark of the garden, leading his crucifying mob. Oh God, strike him down. Why don't you strike him down before he plants his traitor kiss upon my Jesus' cheek? And they take my blameless Jesus. They drag him to the governor, to the mighty Roman governor, great Pilate, seated in his hall. Great Pilate, on his judgment seat, said, in this man I find no fault. I find no fault in him. And Pilate washed his hands. But they cried out, saying, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. His blood be on our heads. And they beat my loving Jesus. They spit on my precious Jesus. They dressed him up in a purple robe. They put a crown of thorns upon his head, and they pressed it down. Oh, they pressed it down. And they mocked my sweet King Jesus. Up Golgotha's rugged road, I see my Jesus go. I see him sink beneath the load. I see my drooping Jesus sink. And then they laid hold on Simon, Black Simon, yes, Black Simon. They put the cross on Simon, and Simon bore the cross. On Calvary, they crucified my Jesus. They nailed him to the cruel tree, and the hammer the hammer rang through Jerusalem's streets. The hammer rang through Jerusalem's streets. Jesus, my lamb like Jesus, shivering as the nails go through his hands. Jesus, my lamb like Jesus, shivering as the nails go through his feet. Jesus, my darling Jesus, groaning as the Roman spear plunged in his side. Jesus, my darling Jesus, groaning as the blood came spurting from his wound. Oh, look how they done my Jesus. Mary, weeping Mary, sees her poor little Jesus on the cross. Mary, weeping Mary, sees her sweet baby Jesus on the cross, hanging between two thieves. And Jesus, my lonesome Jesus, called out once more to his Father, saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And he drooped his head and died. And the veil of the temple was split in two. The midday sun refused to shine. The thunder rumbled and lightning wrote an unknown language in the sky. What a day, Lord, what a day, when my blessed Jesus died. Oh, I tremble. Yes, I tremble. It causes me to tremble when I think how Jesus died on the steeps of Calvary, how Jesus died for sinners like you and me. Amen.